Hi everyone, I am Christine Josty of Mail Something Pretty, and I wanted to show you these cards. It's a little different style than I usually do because I've created my own designer paper. So I'm going to show you how you do that. We did this as a club project, and I'm going to show you an alternate idea as well. And so we're using the new Fragrant Forest stamp set that is in the new the 2023 holiday catalog, and it is a one big stamp, so sometimes they call them a background stamp. So that's how big the stamp is. I am using it with my Stamparatus, which I know is no longer available through Stampin' Up, but you can use, there's two ways to do it. There is this huge clear block, you can kind of see how big it is, and it is, what letter? I think it's letter F. So it does fit over, it's the right size for a background stamp. The other option is just to do everything with the stamp just face up, and I'll show you that too. But for our club, it was just easier for us to kind of put the paper in the same spot and stamp it. All right, so I'm going to use Garden Green. So I know that evergreens do not change color. So this is kind of an impressionistic fall paper. So I'm going to use, let's see what size. You can use any size paper, but this one happens to be 3.5 by 4 3/4. So you can tell where my paper is going to go, and it's much smaller than my stamp. So what I'm going to do, and I would still do this too if I was just using this stamp, if this was on my table upright, I would ink it, and so rather than have the paper here, I would just put the paper down and either with a scrap paper press it down so I didn't get too inky. That's one way of using your background stamps, but the Stamparatus really does help it out. I'm actually going to stand up to give it a good press. All right, and so I'm not going to open up really fast, but I'm going to open up a little bit slow because I didn't use the magnets because the paper is smaller than the stamp. So if I just kind of carefully lift it up, the paper shouldn't move, just in case I had to re-ink it and re-stamp. That way it's in position, but it got a good stamp. I just think that's beautiful on its own, and actually that's why I got it, to make kind of some simple winter cards. You can normally just put a little greeting on there, and I think that's pretty, or different colors. But I want to show you how I made, where'd it go, kind of foliage. So I'm going to use kind of fall colors, and they are, let's see, I think you can see them on there. Pebble Path is an optional color, we'll see. Crushed Curry, Wild Wheat, Cherry Cobbler, and Pumpkin Pie are the fall colors I chose. And so I'm going to use these sponge daubers. Another way of doing it, and I have an option here, and this is lighter. You can kind of see this was my original, and this is a lighter version, and I could do it darker. I just use colored pencils, so you could just color really directly right on top of your paper, and you can make it, there we go, a little darker. You can make it as lighter as you want, so that you just color right on top, and don't use just leave it, don't introduce water, because then the green will smudge. So that's one option, but I'm going to use the sponge dauber. So I'm going to start with yellow. I should say crushed curry. And so on this one, let's see, I kind of made, again, this is an impressionistic view of foliage. So I just pressed directly on, and you can see all my circles. So I just kind of daubed, so to speak. And this has a little bit of that. So this one I'm going to do a little softer. So I'm just going to daub off a little bit, and I'm going to, rather than like daub, I'm just kind of brushing. And so someone in club actually did, it was really pretty. They kind of did yellow in the walkway here, and it looked like the sun was coming down. So I'm going to do that as well. I am going to use some, and you can always go back and make it darker. All right, let's leave it like that for now, and we'll see if we need to introduce any more colors. I'm going to do pumpkin pie. Same thing, rather than just daub, I'm going to kind of Just gently brush. And I can always go back. The trees where I live, usually we have beautiful foliage and they're just starting to turn, but I'm afraid because we had so much water, I thought we would actually have really good foliage. But then we had this awful heat and humidity, so I'm afraid that some of the leaves are they're instantly turning brown. So I don't know what kind of colors we're gonna get this year. All right, and this is cherry cobbler. Just gonna kind of highlight places and we'll see how much red I want. And my tag's gonna go right here, so actually I don't need to do too much there. But it's kind of a different way of making your own paper, coloring on top of something that was already stamped. All right, I think I'm just gonna stop there. We'll see how that is. I do have wild wheat here because I'm using that as a, let's see, background, but I actually don't think I'm going to use it on this one. What I did on this one is I used wild wheat and pebble path, that color here, on my walkway. I think that was my first one. And this one I had. So they're all a little different, right? Because every year the leaves are different. All right, so I'm going to glue that on top. And I think wild wheat, I think you either love it or hate it, but I've found if you pair it, I'm all sticky, if you pair it well, then you love it. I think it pairs really nicely with Native Navy, but this, we're going to use pebbled path. So hopefully you can see, I already embossed this with the, it's called the Timber, I always call it wood grain, but that was a different one. The Timber 3D embossing folder, because I thought, you know, because we're making trees and there's wood, it kind of tied in together. So I think that really looks nice together. Kind of earthy. And then I have some leaves. We will, even just like that, I think is really pretty, just plain. But I did cut out some leaves, so I used them over the summer a lot, those paper florist dies, and there were 3 different leaf designs. So those are the 3 different leaves. So I did cherry cobbler, crushed curry, and garden green to kind of mimic my stamping, and I did already pre-stamp a thanks, and I used the die from, put myself on the spot, I have to think for a second. Starts with an F, I think. Oh, shoot. I'll think of it. I don't remember. You can use any die you want. But I actually like it kind of hanging over here, just for a little interest to break up the paper. And then I'll stick these in. I'll decide where I want them to go. I think this one I'm going to have the red up front, the yellow behind, and this green one I kind of intending to put it. Let's see. Kind of like them together because that's what happens to the foliage. Okay, so I'm going to put the red in first. Stalling, I'm trying to remember the name of that die set. Fabulous something or other. And the yellow leaf, we'll go tucked right under here. Oops, I was going to put it under the red. There we go. And then we'll just top it. Is that crooked? That looks a little crooked to me. There we go. And I have some gems. Just to add a little extra color. These are the new, the in color. So the wild wheat is right here, and the pebble path is right here. Actually, I might use pebble path on this one. Let's see if I can do it with, they don't always work with tweezers. Nope. Work really well with this putty though. Let's see. Let's get another one. There we go. And I've just been using one. I'll show you the other one. So it's definitely masculine. So, oh, look at, I have to redo that. I got it smudged while it was here. So I use Garden Green ink there, I use Pebble Path, and I use Cherry Cobbler. So you can kind of get a feel. They're all a little bit different. And then I have white cardstock I'll put on the inside. I think I just did like that. So again, I just wanted to show you there's, you can use, where did it go? I'm going to be using this a lot, but that's just one way just to add color to it. Now you could always do it a softer green and build up different greens if you want to do something like that. There's all sorts of ways. And again, if you wanted to do color it with the color pencils, and that was just another version of that. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned something a little bit new and you can try it out with your own stamps. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.